national environmental group. I certainly would not support something that's anti-environmentalist. And I've been a pro-labor person all my life. I believe that the labor movement is the one that created the great middle class of this country after the Second World War. So I certainly would not be in favor of something that's against labor. But I want to tell you just one last story. I was in the commission appointed by President Carter. Who remembers President Carter? A few years ago, right? To study immigration and refugee policy. It was back in the 60s. Out of our studies came the program that permitted many people to become documented. That you remember we had that program back in the 60s. But what I want to tell you though is that we had a big staff. We studied programs for amnesty all over the world and all that. And for 2 or 3 years, I forget how long. And finally the chairman said, okay, we've been studying all these matters, we have a lot of recommendations, it's time to vote, he says. And he says, and the first issue is this, and we've got 2 options, A and B, and he told us what the options were. I turned to the fellow who was next to me. Incidentally, the commission was composed of 4 citizens, I was a citizen, 4 congresspeople, 4 senators, and 4 members of the cabinet. So I turned to the fellow next to me who was a congressman, and I said, I don't like either option. He says to me, welcome to the legislative process. And I just tell you that story because no initiative, and I would have had a few things somewhat different in 31. No initiative is perfect, but if it carries things forward, if it's going to make the legislature work a little bit better, so Latinos and blacks and poor people don't suffer as much as they're suffering now, I'm for it. And I think 31 does that. I do have with me about half a dozen or so, well, in fact I have one here that tells you a little bit more about it. So those of you, particularly those who belong to organizations, can see me afterwards. I'll be very happy to share it with you. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions for Justice Reynoso?